Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Coming up.
Long story short, all these things that say don't talk, just man up, it'll be okay, ignore your feelings, ignore your thoughts.
Go on, talk
So
more.
I'm suicidal, I've got a big drink problem, I'm taking a lot of cocaine, I'm just self-destructing.
You're listening to The Hurt Locker, and our guest tonight is Craig Paton. Craig, good evening and welcome.
Thanks for the welcome, Yinka.
I've got a bone to pick with you to start off with. Don't worry, don't raise your eyebrows. We were going to do this on a Burns night, weren't we, originally?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I had me kilt sorted and everything, specially made for that night, and it didn't materialise.
It's an important day in the Scottish calendar. Do you know, we chase haggis up and down the hills, and we put on our kilts and play pipes and drink iron brew and eat shortbread. It's a magical day in Scotland. Magical.
I was so looking forward to it, and my thunder was stolen then, but
Sorry, mate.
yeah, maybe next year, okay? Maybe next year.
That's okay. That's a promise.
Oh, you know what? I chased down my promises. Don't worry about that one.
Good. No, that's cool.
Chased down my promises. So, Craig, thank you for agreeing to come on the Hurt Locker. You know, it's a pleasure to have you. I think you're our first guest north of the border as well.
Excellent.
And it's good to have you here. I was just thinking then. I don't know if you ever come south often, but I do go up occasionally to Glasgow, etc. You know, I've got a few friends up there in Glasgow, Edinburgh. I do a little bit of work in the Highlands and all that, but it's great to have you here today. So,
Yes.
Craig, tell me a little bit about you and let's see where we go with this.
So, a bit from myself, I'm Craig, 41. You can probably tell by my dulcet tones that I'm from Glasgow. It's a hard accent to shake off, no matter how old I get. I've still got this lovely accent that accompanies me everywhere I go. Get 3 kids, middle-aged man, I suppose you could say. In construction, most of my days, to be honest, worked my way from the tools up to a senior position, and we had an issue on site. One of my friends was fatally killed on site, and it made me drink a wee bit more than I should have, do you know, and it's the way I always say things, Yinka. It's every one of us, we all like a beer or we all like to do things extracurricular, and life just plods along. And I always say to people, it's just if you get one bit of information that just pushes you over the edge, do you know, and that was one of the things for me that made me drink a hell of a lot more. There's a few extra things that happened in my life round about that time, round about my mid-30s, and it really affected my mental health that much that I was considering suicide. I know that's a lot to take in, but the last kind of 7 years I've been in health and safety. I was trying to make a difference and trying to help what my friend had went through. I was trying to make sure that that didn't happen to anybody else. And the minute that I found I couldn't reinvent the wheel, I've started having a look more at the statistics involving poor mental health, suicide, and addiction in the construction industry. So that's what I spend a lot of my time on, just trying to really make a difference and trying to influence people to maybe make those small changes in their life. And as of next week, I am 5 years sober. So I've nearly got a celebration coming up next week. So 5 years, but I'm Scottish, so I think it counts as dog years. So I'm going to say, I'm
No,
going to say
it's 2.5 years. It goes the other way. The other way.
Scottish, Scouser, Geordie. I think if we go 5 years sober, I think that counts as 35. I'm taking it as dog years because everything we do is always surrounded by the pub. It's just, you know what life is like. It's a hard thing. It's a hard, really, really hard thing to break away from. Do you know, you lose a lot of friends, you lose a lot of, I would say friends, I would say acquaintances. You do lose a lot of rubbish in your life. I like to think of it as a cull, the same way that a farmer would do away
Absolutely.
with unwanted animals, do you know, and it's just funny. It's the older you get, you realise that you need people round about you that care about you and people round about you that want to make your life better. Do you know, and
Okay.
that's the people that I tend to surround myself with these days, Yinka.
Thank you, Craig. There's so much that you've brought up, and just in this brief introduction, I'm just going to throw something in for myself. You spoke about the construction, you've touched on the construction industry and, on the tools. And for myself, I'm a bricklayer by trade. Okay. And I'm just checking, you lost a friend through an accident
Yeah.
in the construction industry
Yes.
itself. And I was on the trials. I was a brickie, like I say, many, 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 many moons ago. And one of the things that I did pick up on, and it's for me, just hearing you saw me shaking my fist like that.
Yeah.
Why was I doing that? I was doing that because I only thought about it at the time. You've ran with it. You've ran with the issue of health and safety
Yeah.
within the construction industry. And far, far too many people have been hurt, severely injured, or died through the construction industry. And whilst it's a great employer, the impact that it can have on people's lives when we lose friends, when we
Yeah.
lose loved ones to it, you can't measure that. You cannot measure that. It got me thinking because you spoke then about drinking a little bit more than normal. What support were you receiving? Who came to you? Who said, Craig, I know you've lost somebody close. What can we do for you?
Nobody. If I'm being brutally honest, there was no support. Um, Lost a friend, a good pal, a good bantering buddy that goes both ways. At the same time, I lost a friend through alcoholism. One of my friends that I grew up with, he drank himself to death. 30 years old, spent his birthday on the Saturday and in the hospital in the Queen Mother in Glasgow, and on a Monday he was away. 30 years old. It's funny, Yinka, because the way that I look at things is as a health and safety guy. If you're going to have an accident, I like to think how many times you could catch it before it becomes an accident. So if somebody's not signed on to risk assessments, somebody's not been briefed, somebody's not been trained. There was so many occasions for me to stop drinking, so many things, but the society that you're surrounded in, it's very, very hard to make that decision. You've almost got to become like a social pariah just to get away from the drink and the drugs and the culture.
That's what I was going to pick up on. Is it the culture that you've got to break free from?
I would say so, 100%. And there's a lot of people that I speak to that it's with it being a societal thing with Glasgow, you know yourself, we've got that stereotype that we all like a drink and we're all hard men and we don't cry and it's all about the football. May be true for 90% of people, but at the end of the day, in a in a place like construction, with the amount of fatalities we have every year, with it being such a high risk profession, there's got to be something there. As you say, it's about support. I think if I was offered support, Yinka, I would probably not have taken it.
You're going to tell me why?
No, because of the macho aspect that comes along with it. And I mean, you're talking you're talking 7 to 10 years ago. Do you know that's a lot's changed in the last 7 to 10 years? Do you know? And I know it's still the same place. I know it's still the same country. Things are slowly but surely starting to move on, and that's with awareness of people being able to talk up if they do have issues. And I think it would have maybe taken another thing to be put on top of that before I seeked out any kind of help, because there is that macho BS that sticks in your mind that we just man up, we get on with it. We're men, we're the breadwinners, we're the hunters. Do you know that old rubbish? And unfortunately, that stigma still exists in Liverpool and Glasgow. Do you know a lot of these cities that it is, you're the working class, you've just got to go and don't show any signs of weakness. I've lost count of the amount of times, even now, that I sit with my partner and I go, I need to talk to her, but I'm the man of this relationship. It's all rubbish. It's all just things that's been implanted in your brain from the day you were born. Do you know? It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to speak up, to admit that you need help is a very hard thing. And I think that's part of the reason why I do what I do. Because if a guy from Glasgow can speak up about mental health and addiction issues, hopefully someone else could have a look at that and say, well, if this guy can do it, surely I can do it, and give somebody that bit of help, do you know, and maybe give them the support that I felt that I didn't need, but did need ultimately.
How that first I'm trying to get my head around this. That first time when you thought, "Shit, I actually need some support." How did that feel? Where was that? When did you acknowledge that? And then subsequently, did you go about reaching out for that support? And did people take you seriously?
So the first time, as I say, the first time was my friend dying on site with the accident. Second time was my friend Danny drinking himself to death. And the third time was my cousin. Her wee daughter was born with a brain aneurysm. And accumulation of the three really pushed me to the edge. It ended up that I would be sitting at the weekends drinking, taking drugs till stupid o'clock in the morning. And I did eventually have that kind of that way that I was always told drinking's okay until it starts affecting your work. Do you know? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have that same perception.
Absolutely.
It was it was now starting to affect my work, and as I say at the start, I was essentially a health and safety guy, just an advisor, driving about full of the UK, and I was essentially a functioning alcoholic, driving up and down the UK. And my cousin's wee daughter, she had a relapse. The cancer was all clear, and then it came back, and that was the ultimate thing that just pushed me right over the edge. I think I was in self-destruct mode. That it was just I don't want to be here anymore. If whoever it is that's in the afterlife, whoever it is that can do something like this to a kid, I don't want to be a part of it. And I think I'd kind of made peace with myself, Yinka, if I'm being honest, that this was it. Do you know, there's really no point in staying here. And then it me maybe a few months extra in a really deep depression. Funnily enough, I actually lost my job because of it. because I was seen to be a liability, even though I was going through a hell of a lot of problems in my life, and I did. I needed an arm round about me, and nobody delivered that arm. Ultimately, it ended up with having a drink. Having a drink one night, it went too far. Two friends fighting, and that was really my penny drop moment. That it was just, I can't keep putting myself in this. I was 36, yeah, 36 years old. And I thought, I've got kids. I can't keep putting myself in this situation where I'm putting myself in danger, but also not sleeping, not eating, everything. The drugs and the drink were number one.
Yeah.
The kids didn't come close. It was always, where's that next drink? Where's the party? And fortunately, I'm here to tell the story. I'm here to show
Yeah.
that it can be done, and I can come through the other side. And
Can I just go back slightly?
yeah,
You lost your job. In what circumstances did you lose your job?
I didn't turn up for a few days. It was one of those weeks that I just couldn't get out the house. I just couldn't get up. I couldn't face life. I couldn't face whatever it was that was on the other side of the door. Um, Mother and father, they were on holiday. I think they were in Cyprus. And I just went to their house and just based myself in their house, got as pissed as I could, excuse my language, and shut the doors, shut the curtains. That was me. It was just, I need something to numb the pain, and this is the only thing that I can think of that's going to numb the pain and just put it off until tomorrow.
Sorry for cutting in and that, but so many questions. Didn't work think to ask you, Craig, listen, I know you're struggling, you've lost your mates, etc. What's going on? How can we help you?
Nothing. I never got a letter. I never got anything. There was no written warning, no formal warning. I was essentially the model employee. And then one day I just had a breakdown. It's essentially just a total mental breakdown. Couldn't deal with life, couldn't deal with anything that was behind the door, as I said, and then just caned it for 3, 4 days solid. It was actually that way that when I came to, in my mind, the works van was away, and I thought, shit, that's stolen. And it was actually with the tracker being in it that it was it was somebody had come up and got the van, and that was it. I got called in for a disciplinary and subsequently lost my job. I thought I was going in to get a slap in the wrists, which I would have expected. That's I get people go through a lot of hardship, but at the end of the day, I didn't cover myself in glory either. But at the end of the day, lost my job.
Okay, it's okay. And following the loss of your job then, we were leading up then to you contemplating suicide, contemplating ending your life.
Yeah,
Did you have a plan?
I did. Yeah, I had a foolproof plan. I really thought to myself, if I've not got a job, my marriage suffered. I should have mentioned that, Yinka. Marriage suffered heavily because of my deep depression. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't just a one-way street. It was quite heated at times.
Yeah.
And ultimately, marriage falling apart, friend dying, friend drinking himself to death, cousins, wee girl with a brain aneurysm. All of those things just caused me to implode. It's funny because there was a picture taken that I can't even remember the picture being taken, but it was an old black and white photo. People in my house didn't know anybody in my own house, sitting there playing the guitar out my face. And that was the moment, that was the night that I thought, "Do you know what? Nah, this isn't for me anymore."
And what brought you back from the brink?
I think this went on for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. This went on for. I think I just kept going really, and I just kept on going because, as I say, I was always taught that just keep going, batten down the hatches, man up, keep going, and that really came to a head because I was listening to a lot of sad songs, and I think music. I love my music, but it was getting to me. I was listening to certain songs over and over, and those thoughts started coming in to say, "Do you know, there's no point. There really isn't any point. You're a failed safety guy. You're a failed dad. You're a failed husband. Do you know, there was nothing. If I'm being honest, there really was, and it was a low point, Yinka. And again, I didn't have friends. I had acquaintances. That made things 10 times worse. And as I say, the real penny drop moment was that I'd went to a party after a party after a party, and two mates arguing about football. One guy's one team, which you can imagine from Glasgow, one's
Yeah.
Rangers, one's Celtic, and two boys end up fighting. I'm a coward for not backing up one, and I'm a coward for not backing up the other. And I just put my hand up and said, "Do you know what? I can't keep putting myself in this situation. I need to man up in my own mind, not man up for the sake of the old British standard of manning up. It was more, I really need to sort my shit out."
Show up for yourself.
I could remember it was a sunny morning, maybe back of 8 in the morning, and I could remember walking past the shops where I grew up, and I'm walking by the shops, and there's guys actually queuing up to get a carry out of these shops, queuing up, and I saw one of the guys, and I thought, you know, he looks quite similar to myself, and I thought if I don't stop this now, 5, 10 years time, that guy's me, and that really was a kick in the peas, to put it politely. That was a real wake up call for me. And I started to notice things subsequently after I got sober that just things just changed. I don't know. It just seemed to be like looking at life without blinkers on, and things did start to change for the good. So it really showed me that what I was doing was the right thing, and the darkness seemed to clear. Don't get me wrong, there's still, to this day, there's still clouds, but sometimes they're really dark and some days they're really light. It's just trying to manage the clouds.
Talk to me a little bit about those green shoots when you're starting to become sober, you're starting to see things differently. The lens is looking different, how your perspective is changing. What were indications for you?
It just, it, the minute I got sober, that weight, it just felt like a weight was lifted. I'd lost my job, but at the end of the day, it was a really high paced, stressful initiation when it came to health and safety. And it's something that, listen, things happen for a reason, and that happened for a reason. And it did stand me in good stead when it came into health and safety. But for me, it was clearer days. It was being able to wake up in the morning, open up the curtains, and say, "Do you know what? It might be raining," which it generally is in Glasgow, but do you know what? I'm alive and I've got the kids, and do you know what? I'm a trier, and I'll always try and make the best out of a bad situation. And I just kept working and working. I went to my GP. always tell this story. I went to my general practitioner and I said to him, I'm suicidal. I've got a big drink problem. I'm taking a lot of cocaine. I'm just self-destructing. And the reply from him was, there's a recycled pamphlet for the Alcoholics Anonymous and a 6-week
Mm.
supply of sertraline. And as a health and
Right.
safety professional, I looked at him and said, are you bleeping kidding me? Do you know,
Wow.
that was my reply. And what I started to look at, Yinka, was other ways to get sober, other ways to occupy my brain. And I started reading, started walking, started talking. If I'm being brutally honest, I've always been a yap. Do you know,
I know exactly what you mean.
anybody that knows me would say, "Oh, Craig, Jesus, he can talk." But I just started talking to the right people. It wasn't necessarily just me gibbering. It was it was just really trying to take those blinkers off from the stuff that it was always when I had the blinkers on, it was always drink, drugs, wild nights, work hard, play hard, and when I got into my 30s, I couldn't drink as much as I could when I was in my 20s, and you're trying to keep up with the young team and trying to be as cool as you can, and that's where the cocaine would keep you awake. It
Yeah.
would always have that effect. And obviously you're just masking something that you really don't need. But what I started doing, it was quite funny that I did say to you that things started to happen. There was my partner that I'm with just now. She probably saved my life, if I'm being honest, because I was in a really bad place before the two of us got together. And two of us started dating, started seeing each other, and before too long, she ended up pregnant. No, listen, I know it takes two to tango. I'm a dirty wee man at times, and and I said that to her, like the two of us said, no more kids. We're happy. I've got two kids. My missus has got two kids. And then we had the wee man, and it just brought the family together. So between my missus and my wee boy, the two of them probably saved my life without even realising that they saved my life.
Have you said that to her?
Never, which is that's actually making me tear up, if I'm being honest,
Oh,
mate.
you need to say that to her.
I will. I will. I'm usually it's save it for Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day tomorrow, do you know?
Yeah, that's a good
That's
day.
there's your
That's another date.
that's method in the madness, big man. It's it's there's your present, darling.
There you go.
You saved my life, and now you're stuck with me. I know I laugh, and that on a serious note, she did, in all honesty, and I started to see things so much clearer, and as I say, the two of us saying, "No more kids, no more kids," and then we have the wee man. It just felt like a gift from somebody that has saw what I've been through, and they just went, "Do you know what? You need this wee boy, and he needs you." And do you know that to me, mate, it's made my life, and that's, as I say, 5 years next week since I've been sober, and I couldn't be happier, if I'm brutally honest. It's it to somebody that doesn't drink, it must sound so easy, but to somebody when it's your every waking bloody hour, you're
Yes,
thinking, "I need a drink, I need a drink, I need a drink." And with the drink comes the extracurricular stuff, do you
yes.
know? And it's so easy. In Liverpool, in Glasgow, so bloody easy. You could
It
get
is.
it's funny that I found out now, it was actually Mother's Day last year, and I was on the Just Eat app, said to my mum and dad, I said, "Right, seldom that I'm up and it's just you and I said, I'll get us a Chinese and we'll sit and have something to eat. Looked on the app, cigarettes, alcohol, and I went, alcohol? Because I was looking for Chinese food, and I went, alcohol. So I clicked it. The Spa and a few others actually deliver cigarettes, booze to your house. Do you know? So if you were wanting to, if you were sitting on a Sunday, really rough, you could go into that app and you could get alcohol, cigarettes,
Mm,
pizza delivered to your house, and you could just text your dealer as well and get a couple of gram, and that would be you. You wouldn't need to leave the house. Whereas
no,
previously, you would need that walk to,
absolutely. To a
do you
dodgy
know?
alleyway or somewhere like that. Yeah.
Aye, but you would need that. Even at that, you could have your penny drop moment when you're walking to the off license saying, "Listen, it's time I really sort myself out." But nowadays, wake up, dog rough, and just say, "Oh, there we go on the app. Oh, I need cigarettes. Oh, on the app," and it's almost so easy.
Can I ask, with the wee man coming along now, how has that changed you as a father? How are you different with your older two, if at all?
So I've always been a good guy, right? And that's not me blowing smoke up my bum. But as I said, that was always number one and two. It was always drinking, drugs, partying, do you know, and then the kids would be an afterthought. Do you know, that was something that I'll deal with that when it comes, when it should have been their number one, and that's it. Since I've gotten sober, the kids are out of this world. They are the top priority in my life. And it has made me a better father. Always was a good dad, but it's made me more patient. It's given me more time with them. And the funny thing that, as I said, I started reading, and there was a book I was reading that said the changes that you make to your life just now don't just influence your future, they influence your past. And I thought, what at the time, Yinka, I thought that is a load of psychoanalytical bollocks. But with a bit of hindsight, I've looked at that quote and I say, well, my kids don't see me drunk. They don't see me falling about. They don't think that's acceptable. That breaks that chain. That I'm not saying that my dad or my uncles or whatever, they did like a drink, but they weren't alcoholics, but they did like a drink. And all social gatherings revolved around drink. And it's funny because my dad hardly drinks anymore. And as I say, not to the fact that he had a drink problem, but we were always the two that were together. Do you know, it was
Yeah,
like the double act. It
yeah.
was the best mates, but father and son that would go to the pub. My dad didn't have his wingman anymore, so he started to go to the pub less and less. So it also cleared the past as well as the future. And I thought, do you know, that's beautiful. And it's the fact that me as a person, I did that. It makes me proud of myself if I'm being honest. Do you know, I
Be
think
honest.
it's about the wee wins, do you know, and that to me that's a small win, it's a small victory. And for the kids, I mean, my son, my two boys, my daughter's a teenager and she's going through that rebellious stage just now. 13 going on 30. Do you know, she
Yeah,
knows everything, and
33. Yeah, of course.
her, her dad's an idiot, and you know the crack. You know the crack. But it's my two boys they think the sun shines out my ass, and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's funny because even like my son Ben, he's just the sweetest, nicest wee boy. 9 years old. He's like a pensioner. It's like he's been here before. Some of the things that he asks you. He said to me a few weeks ago, Dad, what's your ambition? I went, my ambition? They said, what's your ambition? I went, sure, I've never been asked that in my life. But if you take Ben, just such a kind, sweet wee boy, and my other son Ollie, he's kind and sweet, but he's the maniac side of me. Do you know? So it's like if you were to split me down the middle,
Yin and
there's the
yang.
mad side.
Yeah.
Aye, it's the yin and the yang with the boys,
Yes.
and I love that. I dearly love the two of them. It's just the two different sides to my personality. It's the nice side and the Glasgow side. Do you know? It's just it rips out him, and he's such a nice wee boy. It's just it's funny, and I love that. It's the fact that I can spend more time with them and just be a dad rather
Yeah.
than being the guy that works all week and then
Yeah.
spends the weekend drunk and sleeps on the couch and orders. I used to order a bloody Domino's or a Papa John's every Sunday because it was the only place that would. I would be feeding the kids their dinner at lunchtime, do you know? And it's those things that you look back on and you say, "Well, I can't change it." Yes, I do feel a
That's
wee
in the
bit of shame,
past.
but it's. I think a big part of my recovery, Yinka, was saying that I can't change the past. There is nothing physically nothing I can do to make those mistakes any better, but I need to learn to forgive myself. And that's a massive part of my recovery or anybody's
Okay.
recovery for that matter.
Okay. Just, I mean, there was a couple of things. I was going to touch on your relationship with your dad, you being his wingman and you not being on the scene anymore. Did he did he ask if you were okay and all of that? But the other question I was going to ask with regards to Domino Papa John pizzas and not beating yourself up, how much how much did shame impact and influence you at the beginning as part of your recovery?
Shame was a big thing. And I had an ex-wife that'll well, still got an ex-wife that loved to get right in my ear and just sit and yap, 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 yap. You're a bad dad, you're a bad guy, you're this and that. Do you know that? And as I say that, it's like it's like the Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you've seen the films, eh? And it's the king and your man sitting on his shoulder just whispering. That's what my ex-wife was like, just poison. Not to, do you know, listen, we forgive everybody, but at the end of the day, some people are poison, eh? And that's the way that she was with me. There was a lot of shame that came with it. Do you know, oh, you done this and you did that. Things that I knew that I hadn't done. Do you know, but because you were two sheets to the wind the next day, you began to believe it. Do you know, if somebody says to you, Yinka, oh, you're a bad guy, you go, yeah, okay. But the more they say it, the more it starts to seep in a wee bit. And I'm sure if Brad Pitt was here and I kept saying, Brad, you're ugly, mate, you are ugly, I'm pretty sure slowly but surely you would start to chip away. Do you know? And it's that narcissist approach. And it did. There was a lot of shame accompanied with it, and I would still get the boys saying, "Craig, come for a pint, come for a pint." Oh, come on! I went away for one of the European finals a few years ago, 3 years sober, and the boys were still trying to get me to have a pint. I said, "You know, I'll speak to you about it in the morning." And when I saw the boys in the morning, I said to him, I said, "Listen, see if you even attempt that ever again, I won't hesitate. I'll just punch you." I said, "That's you wouldn't ask that of a heroin addict, do you know? So why would you do that to somebody that's got a drink problem?" To go into the kind of the second point that you made, Jinka, or the first, but I think from my dad, I think that's a generation that they never spoke about their feelings, do you know? And my
I
dad
think
worked.
I think that's why I asked you. He
Aye,
probably
and
he's seen you struggling, but
it's
didn't know what to say.
he couldn't, and I think my mum and dad always said to me, and I know my mum said it to me, that she just wants to see me sober. She's like, Craig, I would give anything to see you not drink again. And again, I would just go, oh, it's the usual with kids. Oh, I know better. I know better. I know when it's my time to stop. Do you know? Whereas, and I'm not saying that my dad did, Yinka. That would be it'd be false if I said that. But it's also that thing that it's Glasgow, it's Scotland, it's working class, it's all these things that say, "Don't talk, just man up, it'll be okay, get on with your work." ignore your feelings, ignore your thoughts. And maybe to start with, I was okay with that. But during the course of the years, when the addiction got worse, it really did. It affected me upstairs. And the minute it sets in, you know yourself, it's a hard thing to, you can't just flick it on and off like a light switch. And the funny
Absolutely.
thing was, even during Christmas, it was just me and, well, my dad and I were sitting in his house, and he'd said to me, he said, Craig, what is depression like? He said, what is it? Could you explain it? And I used the analogy with the big black dog. I use
Yes.
that constantly
Brilliant.
as a
Brilliant.
health and safety guy. I use that. I think the visuals there, it just explains it so beautifully. Yet harrowing. But I explained that to my dad, and my dad says, do you know what? I think I may have had depression when I was younger. They don't talk about it. You know yourself, it's a Scotland thing, it's a man thing, it's a, do you know, the old attitudes die hard, to be honest. And now I do. I think I think it. I think it's been a learning curve for my mum and my dad as well, because I think they would notice it in my kids. Do you know? Whereas the previous generations maybe wouldn't have. It would just be a same again, man up and just get on with it. Everything will be cool. And I say to my mum and dad, like, the world you grew up in does not exist anymore. The world
It's
I grew
true.
up in, and I'm 41, the world I grew up in doesn't exist anymore. The mid 90s, it doesn't exist. It's gone and it'll never come back. And it's funny just when that actually sets into your mind that those days are gone and they won't be coming back. The same with the attitudes and the way that people acted, that the world's moved on. Do you know, it's not ever coming back, thankfully.
So moving forward then, how how does your work influence how does your lived experience influence your work in terms of health and safety, in terms of construction, etc.?
Massively. I came into health and safety because I thought that I was going to change the world. I thought, "Do you know, I'm going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to prevent what happened to my friend happening to anybody else." Do you know, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but to go through that mental anguish, even though I wasn't on the site that day, it still rang true. And I thought, you know, I want to make those changes, trying to affect the behaviours in people to make sure that they don't make the same mistakes as my friend did, and that the snowball ripple effect that comes after a fatality on site. So I tried to change the wheel, got into a management position, tried to change the wheel, and you know yourself, at the end of the day, money talks, time talks. People will be put in situations that are unsafe, and until you, with health and safety, same as being a senior manager, until you can accept that at the end of the day, you're just a number to a company. It's a hard one to get out of, Yinka. What that has done, mind you, it has the positive effect with the way that I deal with men. Do you know, it isn't this draconian get down and get on with it. Do you know, get your head down, get your bum up, and just keep working. It's made me a better manager. It's made me a better man and a better person, ultimately. What I would say as well is I put myself through my mental health first aid. I do training for that. I put my own spin on it because I've got lived experience. So I like to share that about addiction and poor mental health, and talking about the big black dog. I think that's imperative when you do a training courses, to be able to add in your own experiences. But what I do in my spare time, as I said, I've got a podcast for guys to talk about their mental health or suicide or drug abuse, and it's just really trying to get that awareness out there. I'm working away from home just now, but I like to keep a few days so I can help my own mental health, but also try and help other people. and try and give
Okay.
those bits of advice. What I was
Okay.
doing, I had a with health and safety, I don't know if it's the same with yourself. You take a day, whether it's a Monday or a Friday, just to catch up in paperwork. But what I was doing was sticking myself in Glasgow city centre and just saying to people on Instagram or people on LinkedIn, just listen, I'm going to be here. If you need any advice, if you're feeling a bit down and you're just needing a bit of cheering up, I'll be here, until such times as I get the kids. And it's just doing things like that, things at a cost to myself, but for the greater good, for
Yeah.
just good of humanity. And again, mate, I'm not Jesus, I'm not the Dalai Lama, but I'm a good guy, and I through lived experience, I would know where to kind of point you or give you some coping techniques, or be able to give you a bit of advice that maybe helped me that nobody gave me apart from the doctor with the sertraline and the AA. Just learning these things and being able to give other people coping techniques is just, it means the world to me.
Good.
That's able to
Good.
give that wee bit back, and it's cathartic as well. It's
Good.
for me talking about things. It's not it's not letting the beast back out the cage. It's cathartic. And I look at it as giving that bit back. I survived when a lot of guys didn't,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and I feel as if I'm doing it for them. It's my duty to be the voice for these guys that didn't make it out. And girls. That's not a sexist comment. Apologies
No,
if it sounded
no,
that way.
no, no, it's not.
It's it's just about being that voice for the generation that unfortunately lost their lives. That
If you don't mind me asking, do you think bosses, construction industry is sitting up and taking notice? Are you starting to see a change?
no.
What needs to happen then?
So what we have just now is mental health first aiders that are office based to senior management. We don't have any mental health first aid trainers or awareness sessions with the guys that are at the coalface. Um,
Absolutely. Go on, talk
so
more.
we don't have guys like myself or yourself that'll be open enough to have these conversations because they're maybe worried about their jobs, they're maybe worried about being laid off, they're maybe worried about repercussions. Whereas somebody like myself going onto site and telling my story maybe gives the guys a bit of a G up. Me personally, I think it's got to be. I know there's a bit of work going on just now, and I put a LinkedIn post on yesterday about making sure that mental health support is written into a contract when it goes to the tender stage. I think
Brilliant.
mental health first aid training is great, but it's the tip of the iceberg. I think there's so much
100%. Hundred
more needs.
percent.
Signposting's another big thing. That's something that as I say, I do a bit with the Lighthouse charity. When I spoke to guys from Motherwell, just outside of Glasgow, and I
Yeah.
spoke to the guys a few years back, and I said, "Has anybody heard of the Lighthouse Foundation?" The resounding answer was no. And I'd said to them, "Listen, it's been on the go for about 80 years." I said, "So why do you guys not know about it? I don't know if this is my ball and you're not playing. I'm not going to let you know about it." It's just a strange one. It seems to be a middle management to top. We know, and we're not telling you. Because if the guys have to take time off due to mental health, it not only hits them in the pocket, it also affects productivity. It affects, presenteeism, absenteeism. It's all these things, Yinka, and it's a very, yourself, it's a very unforgiving arena, the construction world. And
Hundred percent. 100%.
part of what I'm trying to do just now, mate, is the way I see it, and it's excuse the rubbish analogy, but it's like a jigsaw puzzle with 1,000 pieces and maybe 500 are missing. What I'm trying to do just now is just try and put those pieces into play, speak to the people in the know. I know a fair bit myself, but I don't know everything. Do you know that my missus would agree with that as well? I don't know everything, but it's just about putting those wee pieces, mate, and trying. trying to come up with a plan. I know every company's different. I know every
Yeah,
region's different. People are different. Society's different in each of these areas. But surely we can come up with something, a plan of attack that's going to help 98% of the people. Do you know
definitely,
that? And just
definitely.
able to have these chats. And do you know what? As I say, it's 2024. It's not 1994 anymore. It's time to move with the times. And the way I see it, you've got the, the Mental Health Act. Do you know, you get 40 years since that was updated. Do you know, the world's a changed place in 40 years. Do you know,
Massively.
it's a hell of a different to when I was growing up. Do you know, it's time that we sit down as a people and just say, "Do you know what? Let's have an open and honest chat. What do you think? What do you think?" Get everybody's opinions and see if we can make a change. But I do think that that is a massive thing to get mental health put in on the tender stage, put that into a contract. And the way that I described it to one of our clients was if we had 200 men on a job, but we only employed 50, the way it is just now, if I came in to speak, those 50 guys would get that chat. The other 150 are contractors. They don't have
Yes,
access to an employee assistance program. The other
yes,
50 do. So a quarter of the site gets
yes,
access, yet the
yes.
other three quarters doesn't. Do you know that's these things are imperative, mate. When you've got two guys in a
100%.
van gone to these jobs and they've not got support. Do you know, guys like myself come in for a talk. Can you guys wait outside? Or do you know there's curbing to be done? Can you boys go and do the curbing? It's those kind of things, do you know, and that sticks in my throat, mate.
Okay. I mean, I dare say then when you do talk about your own lived experience, there's people afterwards who are coming over to
Yeah,
you on the QT and saying, I'm struggling, or I know somebody who's struggling.
yeah.
What can you do for them, or what advice would you offer them?
So it really depends, mate. I mean, I'm not telling tales out of school. I did have
No.
a young boy coming to speak to me about his mental health. He's in a great place now. I've been able to give him the best advice that I could. His parents were retired age. Gave the boy a bit of advice. I said, listen, there's Andy Man's clubs about. I
Okay.
said, do you know, try them, try going in, try speaking to the guys, see if we can bring you out your shell. Do you know, he had parents that were retired age
Yeah.
and they didn't know how
There's,
to deal with it.
there's a generational disconnect there, isn't there?
Uh,
Straight
and
away.
it was the same. It was man up and get on with it. And
Yeah.
I'd said to him, I said, listen, for yourself, get to Andy Man's club and just open up, just talk to the guys. And I know the guys that work at that Andy Man's club in Edinburgh. And I said to them, I said, listen, I've got a boy coming in. Can you really fuss over him and just, you know, just make him feel like one of the gang? And they did. And to this day, I still text him just to make sure that he's okay and make sure that he's in a good place. And he's loving it. Do you know? And that boy was so close to taking his own life. He actually hugged me after I'd done the speech. And
Mm,
he just didn't want to let go. And to be honest, Yinka, I
mm.
didn't want to let him go either.
You
I
know
was
what, Craig, you're on it. You're on it. Okay, you are on it, 100%. I think on a personal level, you and I need to talk a bit more. You mentioned your podcast.
yeah.
Can you tell us the name of the podcast so that any of my 5 listeners that I'm going to have will be able to tune into it?
It's called Football and the Blues, and
Football and the Blues.
there was method in the madness with this because anytime anytime I speak to guys on the site, it's always something. If it was yourself, Yinka, I would say, What's your name? What's Yinka? You get a kids? You get a wife?" Do you know what? I would always ask those personal questions, but I would also find out what football team you support. It's
You know
not
what, right? As soon as you said football and the Blues, I've got an inkling where you.
Exactly. So see,
I'm not even going there on that one. Okay,
method,
I'll leave that one. I'll
there's
leave that
method
one.
in the madness, mate. So, and what I was thinking was, do you know, if I speak to people about what football team they support, that breaks the ice. That gets me in there because I could sit and talk about English football, Scottish football, European football, the World Cup, the Super Bowl. I could talk to you about bloody anything, do you know, because we all love sport. And that was my thought behind it, was getting guys on that, do you know, like yourself, and saying, "Oh, did you go to the football yourself?" "Yeah, my dad took me and he left me outside the pub, and, you know, I had a packet of crisps." And
I think you're doing yourself a disservice because the vibe that I'm getting off you is you're a connector. You're a connector. You link people. You link people. And yet you could use the vehicle of football or whatever, but you are a connector, you know, and that's for me, that shines through.
thanks.
That shines through. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
Who's the most important person in your life?
I would say myself,
Okay, you
because
you you would say
I need
yourself,
to.
or you are saying yourself.
I'm going to have to say myself because I've been to hell, do you know? And if I don't acknowledge the problems that I've been through in my life, I can't help anybody else. Do you know?
100%.
I need to put myself first. And unfortunately, do you know, as I say that, it's like it or lump it. Do you know, if somebody doesn't like that, then so be it. It's not up to me. I've got to look after myself first and foremost, because if I don't, then I could end up getting into some bad decisions again.
Of
Do you know?
course.
And that's what it's all about, mate.
Can I say we've asked that question on 8 different podcasts, and only 2 people have ever said myself. Okay, and you're one of 2. So props to you on that one. Yes. Feeling vulnerable. Feeling vulnerable. How does that feel for you?
Previously, it was a big issue. Previously, it was a really big issue, vulnerability. But see now, there's no airs and graces. Yinka, I think the way that I see life is that I've been through a lot, and I like to be vulnerable, to show other people that it's okay to be vulnerable. Because the same people that would get that advice to man up and just ignore your feelings, I'm there to say, listen, it's okay. If you're feeling down, you're feeling down. Even today, I'm doing inductions with guys, and I'm just saying to them, listen, that door's always open. Don't think that just because I'm the health and safety guy that you can't speak to me. Come and speak. Do you know, my door's always open. Do you know? And I think that's the important thing. As I say, it's breaking down those barriers. And for me, it's getting that out there to say, do you know what? I suffer. Do you know, I'm the health and safety guy, but I also suffer. Do you know, we're all, at the end of the day, we all hurt. Do you know? And
Absolutely.
vulnerability is a big thing about it. And as I say, part of what I do, Yinka, is just speak up in the hope that somebody sees it and goes, "Do you know, if Craig can do it, I can do it."
Yeah. Tell me, last book you've read?
The last book I read, I could tell you the last book I read, in the book that I use as my Bible. So there you go. I've got the last book I read was The Power of Habit, to see how the human brain works. And it's quite interesting. I can send you it. I'll send you it. Very, very
Some,
interesting.
yeah, please do.
And in the book that I use as my Bible was a funny one that I stumbled upon. And it was The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. And
Okay.
I read it once every 2, 3 months. I love it. Do you know, because it's Western problems being posed to the head the Tibetan church, and it's how those people could go through such hardship and still forgive people without being too political. How they could go through these things and still remain so calm, so peaceful is amazing. And I just Western problems being put to a man like that, it's just blow your mind because we're brought up to, to have a bit of resentment, to have a bit of hate.
I think Desmond Tutu, when they had in South Africa the Truth and Reconciliation, when they held that, they asked people with regards to apartheid, what was your role in it? From the black side, from the white side, what was your role in it? What did you do? And they did that without repercussions to anybody because it was about understanding that this was a system that was wrong and it impacted people negatively. But you know the old adage, an eye for an eye makes us all blind,
So,
you know? An eye for
I
an eye makes us all blind.
was going to say, it's funny how when you were younger and we were brought up with sticks and stones will break my bones, but
Yeah,
nowadays sticks and names do hurt
yeah,
people. It's
yeah,
hard to get that kind of indoctrination out of your head when
absolutely,
that was the way you were brought up. When you were in
absolutely.
school, somebody could call you anything, and it's okay. Sticks and stones. Whereas now it's not okay to say the things that you would have said in the 80s or the 90s or nothing.
Totally.
But we were all
And
brought up,
true. And it's and I know through my therapeutic work how people with children, how they were spoken to, and how 30, 40, 50 years later, it still resonates with them, how they
Yeah,
were spoken to. And
mm,
words are so powerful.
big time,
They're
big time.
so powerful. Can I ask you, have you ever forgiven yourself? Have you forgive yourself?
I think, I think maybe 95%. It's funny because the advice that I give to people is look at your life like a book. I know it's the topic that we're speaking about there, but I usually say to people it's like first chapter, school, second chapter was going to college, high school, third college, look at your life as a book. But sometimes I find it hard that the minute that chapter's finished, it's hard to look back on it. And I have said to my friends some of the friends that are still here, they say, do you not miss having a drink? And I say, well, Craig's dead. Do you know the Craig that you used to get drunk and have a laugh at? Do you know the clown's dead? Do you know this is the new Craig? Do you know? And it's I don't drink anymore, but I'm still just as daft as I've ever been, Yinka. And that's for me. I'm a laugh, and I always try and
Yeah,
make people laugh and make people smile. And do you know what? Sometimes to go back to that point you made, it's hard. It's hard to forgive yourself because I've made a lot of mistakes. Do you know I have made a lot of mistakes? I've forgiven numerous people. Do you know what? Everything happens for a reason, and I think it is. It's when you get those kind of the sayings. Everything happens for a reason. Do you know? But when that resonates in your mind and you keep that there, it's the same as you can't control anything that's not in the palm of your hand. Do you know that all those things when they sink into your psyche and you start preaching it on a daily basis, those are the things that make a difference. Do you know that's the things that help you to forgive yourself? Do you know? And it was the same. There was a just to go into football for 1 second. The old Rangers manager, Walter Smith, when he died,
yes,
and Ali McCoist had spoken at his eulogy, and Ali McCoist used the Maya Angelou quote, do you know? And it's like people will forget what you did, but they'll never
yeah.
forget how you made them
How you make
feel.
them feel. Yes.
And see, for me, mate, that is. that you'd be better off tattooing that on my forehead, because I just love making people feel good, and I love giving people that advice to just say, "Do you know what? I've been there. I've been in that. I've been in the lowest of the lows. I'm with you. Do you know what? I'm here if you need me. But I'll also go on that journey with you and try and help you in any way that I can and offer the best advice."
As you were talking then, I can feel that, you've walked in the wilderness alone.
Yeah.
You've been there, you know, and it's not about earning your three stripes or anything like that, but you've had to walk that walk for yourself, like most of us have had to.
Yeah. It's a lonely walk. Very, very lonely
Of
walk.
course it is, but at the same time, it provides an opportunity to find out who you are,
Of course.
and you don't have to find anybody. People will gravitate towards you.
Yeah.
Those people who are meaningful in your life have gravitated towards you because
Mm.
they like what they see. They believe in you, and that's the best testament,
Yeah. And
you know.
it's funny because, as I said, I'm not a spiritual person, but I did have somebody came up to me. I was doing as I say, I was placing myself in Glasgow city centre, and there was a guy, he was an Indian man, and I seen him walking all the way from the Clyde, and he was coming up and he was talking to himself, and I'm watching this guy. It was a Monday, around about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm watching this guy, and he's walking up the road, talking away to himself, and then he crosses the road, and he came over to me, and I was on the phone, and he was speaking to me. He says, "Can you talk?" And I said, 2 seconds. Whoever was on the phone to, I'll phone you back." Put the phone away, and he said to me, he says, "The things you're doing in there, you do it for nothing, don't you?" I'm one of those guys, mate. It's like, maybe I, maybe no. And he says, "You do it for nothing, and you're helping people." He said, "They're what," and he pointed up to the sky. He said, "They're watching you. Keep doing what you're doing." And he walked away to Glasgow Central, and I was
Mm.
shook. I was really shook. I went, "That's a guy outside a pub in Glasgow, 11 o'clock on a Monday. Do you know this is the?" You would be saying this guy's away for a couple of pints for a hair of the dog, but that guy's seen it and he just walked away, and it did me, it shook me a wee bit. But at the end of the day, again, it's back to everything happens for a reason, and people see things you don't, do you know? And
Absolutely.
nah, it was beautiful. It was definitely one of those things that stuck in my mind, because health and safety tries to drag me back in from time to time. And when something like that happens, that's the blinkers
Yeah.
totally off, just seeing life for what it is. And ultimately, the reason I do what I do is just so the kids can look and say, "Do you know, yeah, my dad might have had his demons, but at least he tried to help people. He tried to make a difference." And do you know, that's really all you need to be remembered for. At
100%.
least you tried, Yinka. I would
100%.
feel guilty if I stayed in health and safety and tried to make as much money as I could. Being through what I've been through, it resonates with me that that's all I want to do, is just help people and try and give people that bit of support and that bit of comfort to know that hard times will pass. Do you know, the darkness will lift and the sun will come out. That could have been a musical there. Sun will come out tomorrow.
Oh, well, I was actually thinking, the darkest time is just before dawn, mamas and papas, but that's another
Was it?
story
There you
anyway.
go.
That's
It
another
was
story.
musical based, mate. That'll do.
Craig, I want to thank you today for giving over your time. I think there's loads more that we need to pick up on for another time if you let us chat with you.
No,
You
100%.
know, I have I've enjoyed this. There's loads more. There's loads more that we're going to be talking about. There is 100%. My brain's taking over, but for
Uh,
now,
it's just an introduction.
it's an intro. It's an intro. Life's about conversations, isn't it?
100%.
Thank you very much. Craig Paton, everybody.
Cheers.
You've been listening to The Hurt Locker. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. Please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.